Looking for more? There's plenty in store. It's time for part 4, Talking Will Eisner with John Hitchcock and Matt B. Lloyd.
And this was a chance, to, at least in a little way, to like call attention. And he agreed
Just
to
trying
do
to
this.
make it right.
It's a little small press thing. Those
Yeah.
people probably don't even know who the hell he is, most of them. But anyway, I mean, if you have any questions, fire away. I mean, I can ramble on and on.
John, it's the smartest thing I could do, right, for the last however long that's been going, is just shut up. And I just sat back and smiled. But I love the things you brought up, because you brought up some great points that for me are just like, it's fun to hear and also think about, the fact that you mentioned that he didn't want to take himself too seriously. So the fact that you were willing to just sort of, keep it light and easy and even potentially piss off Archie by making a crack, you're basically saying to him, like, look, man, all he wants to know is that you're willing to treat him like one of the guys, that you're willing to give him as much gruff as, a little, hey, buddy, here's a little noogie for you, because you might be big time, but you're still just, you're like a brother, and that way you just almost want to just give him that same sort of like.
I've never told this story before being recorded, but I was sitting here working at my store, and there were these 2 or 3 guys who came in the store. This was in the morning, and they were kind of milling around, and they said they were from Kentucky. And I was like, well, hey, man, welcome. If I can help you find anything. And they're looking around. And as they're looking around, suddenly the phone rang. And I picked up the phone, and it was Al Williamson. And Al and I were like best buddies. And I'm like, and Al had early stages of dementia. And if his wife went to the grocery store or something, he would have little panic attacks. And we didn't really think it was bad, but he called me, and he wanted to talk to me and have me kind of settle him down. And as soon as his wife, Corey, came in, he said, John, I got to go. And I looked at those guys and I said, I got to take this. I got to take this call. And those guys are like, who the hell's this guy think he is? So I talked to Al, and I made sure to settle him down. And everything was cool. One time, Al Williamson called me 5 times in one day. And he really called 6 times. But when he called the 6th time, he called my house and talked to my mother for an hour. Because they loved each other. I mean, mom would go to the shows and hang out and visit have lunch with Al. And so I was like, so I got to hang up the phone. Those guys go, okay, what was so important? I said, well, look, that was my buddy Al Williamson. He's like, Star Wars and EC, and they go, wait a minute, Al Williamson just called you? I said, yeah, Al Williamson just called me. He goes, that was Al Williamson? I said, yeah. You want to see the thing here? It says Al Williamson. And they go, well, why the hell is he calling you? I said, look, he's a friend of mine. He's having a rough time now. Blah blah blah. I said, but you never know. You never know who's going to call. Phone rang.
I've heard this story, Seth. This is a good one.
Phone rang, and I said, can you hold on a minute? And I picked it up. Yeah, okay, yeah, sure. What are you looking for? Okay, let me write that down. Blah, 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 blah. Hey, yeah, okay, sure. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I'm doing good. Yeah, the store's doing good, blah, blah, blah. About 5, 10. I look at those guys, give me a minute. No, okay, sure. I'll help you find it, sure. It was and I said, okay, who was that? Because they're having to wait. And I said, well, that was Alex Toth. Alex was looking for a certain book. He couldn't find it. He wanted me to try to find it for him. And, that's the way he is. And, Alex and I have been friends since 1980, 81. And they go, wait a minute. Alex Toth just called you? I said, yeah. I said, don't ask me, man. Shit. He just called. He wanted me to try to find him a book or something. And they're like, let me get this right. Al Williamson called. And then Alex Toth just called? He said, are you kidding me? And he said, and they called you? I said, well, look, I didn't get married. I don't have any kids. I had comics. Shit, I met all these people. They're friends of mine. I said, that's just the way it is. And he goes, well, okay. And I said, well, look, I'm sorry if I had to make you wait, but sometimes things like this happen. Bring, phone rings. I'm like, oh, shit. I said, picked it up. Yeah, sure, okay. What's DC doing? What's Marvel doing? What's good? What should I pick up? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, great. And I looked at those guys, you got to give me a minute. This is me. And they were like, okay. And I talked to them and everything. And I went, okay, thanks, bye. And they went, okay, who was that? I said, and they're pissed, I went, That was Will Eisner. And they went, what? And I said, look, he's going to Australia. He's going to be on the plane for like 17 hours. He wanted to know what was good to pick up something to read because he's going to be on the plane. And he just wanted to ask me, what DC was doing, what Marvel was doing. He wanted to at least act like he knew what was going on in the comic business, not like Will Eisner goes to comic book stores and cruises the racks. He just wanted to know. And so I told him. And those guys looked at me and they went, you mean to tell me we've been here for an hour, and you've already talked to Al Williamson, Alice Toth, and Will fucking Eisner? I said, yeah. And they looked at each other and they went, we're leaving. And they ran out and they said, we don't want the phone to ring again because we don't know who the hell else is going to call your ass. I said, well, I can't explain it. The stars lined up. I mean, they just called, because Al did a convention for me the first time in 1980. I was about 87, and Alex did come to Greensboro in 1986, and we were friends already. And then Eisner did the 2 shows, and
I get a picture there.
Yeah, that's my Toth book.
This is both John. This is John's book. This is John's book. So
what that is like I was talking to we're supposed to be talking about Eisner, but I was talking to Alex on the phone, and he said he couldn't sleep at night, so what he would do is he would doodle. He would draw and doodle on these pads of paper he'd get from the drugstore. And he said to him, it's like being a pianist. You have to do finger exercises. You have to keep busy and keep working. And I said, what do you do with all these drawings? He goes, I throw them away. I said, well, don't do that. I said, send them to me. If we get enough of them, one day I'll get a book. We'll do a book. And he goes, okay. So I get these envelopes.
Brilliant.
I swear, I get these envelopes in the mail, and sometimes there would be like 4 or 5, doodle pages. And he started, if you wrote him a letter, he would send you a postcard, usually with a drawing on it. That was just like mind bending. I got one of Bravo for Adventure. It's just a headshot, but it's like perfect because Alice was a genius, and so we saved them up, and we finally got enough together. And then the writer Jeff Parker, he was a local guy. He coughed up the money to have it printed. This is before we could do stuff on Amazon and stuff, and we got it printed. And sadly, Alex did see the final draft of the book. His son took it to him and put it inside an oxygen tent for him to read it. And he went through it. And he looked at his son, Eric, and he said, if it's good enough for John, it's good enough for me, print it. But sadly, he never saw it. The finish, he passed before we got it out. And but that's what that book is all about. It's like all the drawings that I acquired from Alex over a 25-year period. Not all the letters, but almost all the drawings. And it's like, that's why I called it Dear John, because you get these letters, Dear John. And Wally Wood once, he was the first guy I wrote a letter to, and Wood said, you get a lot of Dear John letters, don't you? And I said, yeah, more than you'd ever want to know. And so I wanted to use that as the title of the book. And Alex, I think Alex would have loved it. I mean, it took forever for us to get it done because I'm not computer skilled. I'm not, I'm an artist. I draw and I paint and all that stuff, but computers are baffling. I mean, I can still buy stuff off eBay to my credit cards pain.
Chagrin.
but I can do a few things, but my old buddy Billy Ingram put the book together, scanned it all in, got it ready to be printed, and we finally did get it done. But it was nominated for an Eisner Award. It lost out to a $50 Brian Bolland art book, which isn't fair. Mine's a little $20 trade paperback. And, of course, every ignorant person in the world is going to pick a $50 hardcover over a little dinky trade paperback. But and also I think it hurt that the last couple of Eisners to that particular category were all Toth books. So if we can't keep giving it to the same guy. But that's what that was all about. And that really made me really happy.
I didn't want to interrupt the Eisner stuff, but the book is sitting right here next to the screen, and he hit Toth, and I just had to break it out and make him talk about something he's done.
Hey, man, look, the first thing you got to realize is when you open a treasure chest, you don't complain that there's too many gold pieces or rubies or diamonds or sapphires. You go, hey, look, that's a gorgeous gold piece. Hey, look, there's a gorgeous... So you guys are just picking up gems and then, apologizing for handing them off to me like this.
Well, Alan, it's funny because Eisner was just, it's amazing to me to even think about it. That, nowadays, like on my back wall, I've got a framed picture by that Al Williamson sent me, a Flash Gordon, and I have a frame piece of Duel the Monsters by Angelo Torres from Creepy 7. It's a recreation that Ange gave me. Ange and I are buddies too. And then below there is an Eisner drawing, and it's all in brush, and it's the Spirit and Joe Dope. And it's funny. You say, well, why would you put something like that on your wall? I said, well, I wanted my customers to show me a little respect. So if they saw those things that were signed to me by these genius guys, maybe I get, I'd be like Rodney Dangerfield. Maybe I get a little more respect. But guess what? 90% of them don't know what the hell. They don't get it. They don't care. But if the right person comes in, they go, wait a minute. Is that really a Will Eisner sketch? And I was like, yeah, it is. He sent it to me. They walked by. Can I take my picture with it? Yeah. But he was generous like that. I mean, I think Eisner sent me, a couple of watercolors and a couple of drawings, and he was just the sweetest guy, and I really do miss him because half the fun of San Diego was to see him, and he would always make a big point out of saying, well, if John made it to San Diego, I know the comic industry's okay. But if he could afford to fly here and stay at this hotel, then things must be going pretty good. But he was.
Man, I also.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say too. I love the fact that you brought up the idea of Will's kind of credited for being the guy who created the graphic novel, but I actually got to meet Jack Katz. I'm not sure if that's a
sure.
And unfortunately, when I met him, he's still alive, but memory and things like that, it was really difficult. But
First Kingdom, right?
Showed me the
First Kingdom.
What's that?
First Kingdom.
Yeah. And he actually showed me that there's a PhD dissertation that was written explaining and documenting how it was that it was actually Jack and Will having a conversation through letters in which the credit is established that it was Jack who'd come up with the graphic novel term and ideas like that.
There was a guy named Metzger, I think, who coined. He did the first, and then of course you can find other examples of stuff like it rhymes with lust with was a little paperback. It's there's thing, and then Harvey Kurtzman's Jungle Book was a trade paperback, a little bigger, and it was multiple stories, new material. You could credit that, but and I never said that Eisner was the first guy to do it, but he was the guy who popularized it. I mean, I'm glad that you met Jack Katz. I met him once at a small show. I always thought his stuff was so labored that it hurt my eyes after a while. I couldn't look at his stuff anymore. It's just too many lines. But I mean, the funny thing, people talk all the time about how great Jack Kirby is, and Jack Kirby is a phenomenon. But Will Eisner gave him his first job. And the story Eisner told me was that suddenly Kirby walks in. He's a little New York guy with a cigar in his mouth, and he goes, "I came here for work." And Eisner looked at him and said, "We don't really have enough room." And he goes, "Yeah, there is an empty table over here." And he just walked over and sat down behind the table. And sat down. They had orange crates, and they put their, the brushes and stuff on. And Kirby just sat down and he said, "I'm working." And Eisner was kind of scared of him because he was like, "Well, I don't know who this guy is." And he said, and Kirby just sat down and started working. And he said he waited a little bit, and he walked over and he took one look at the drawing board. And he says, "You're hired. You're hired. I mean, it was like, where'd you come from?" Because he was one of those savants. I mean, Kirby was from another planet. I mean, and the some of the most amazing stories about Kirby's speed, and a lot of it is because he was from that generation of the Depression, and Stranko missed the deadline. Captain America 112 with 23 pages in a cover. Stan Lee called up Jack on Friday afternoon, said, "I need this thing done." And he goes, "Well, what is it?" And he goes, "Well, I think Captain America's dead and Iron Man's at the Avengers, Avengers Mansion, and they're doing an overview of he's doing an overview of Cap's career." And I figured, well, hell, you're the one that did all that stuff, so I figured you're the guy to do it. And Kirby, "When do you need it?" He goes, as soon as you can get it to me." He goes, "Okay." And then on Monday morning, he walked in with 23 pages in a cover. And if you ever see that comic book, you go, "You got to be kidding me!" But he did it. And you know why? Not because he was the world's fastest artist, but because he would put in 16, 17, 18 hours at a whack. He would get it done because he came from a generation that didn't have